I'm Randy Rosenblum.
And I'm Tarek Patel from High School on SI.
And this is SoCal Prep Report. Good to see you.
Man, what a fall from grace that you're my Valentine. Yeah, it's good to be back in the studio, Randy. As always, we're right in the thick of my favorite season. It's basketball season.
High school basketball. We'll get a little taste here. Let's put up the last top 10, then we'll get into the playoffs. This will dictate and show you who are the powerhouse teams. Tarek, a quick glance through this.
Yeah, these are based on the computer rankings, right? So we've known it to be the system for football the last 4 seasons, but here we are. Competitive equity model says that the computer now dictates how the playoffs are determined, how the playoff divisions are spilled out and the pairings happen. So these were the top 10 high school boys basketball teams according to the computer, and they ended up being the 10 for the open division.
Yeah, that's a little bit different wrinkle, right? Qualifying 10 for the open. In the past, it's been 8.
Right. It not only has it been 8, but it's been a committee. So they, guys get in a room, Frank Burleson and other guys of the world get into a room and they pick the best 8 teams that they believe would make the open division. Well, now with the computer ranking, similar to Division I football, we all know last 4 years they draw a line. Which teams are going to make up that top field? So same exact thing in basketball, and they came up with 10, which is a format I like. 2 teams of 5, 4 guaranteed games, and the winners of each pool will play in the final.
All right, let's take a look at some of the scores from last night because we had some games in both Pool A and Pool B. We'll start with Harvard Westlake, the top seed in the tournament. The Wolverines win easy, 73-52. Nick Hemenia, the young man going to Duke next year. What do you have? A big game, 25, 9, and 9.
That's right. He was near triple-double, and he is one. He's a walking triple-double, and I think he's had a couple this year. But going to Duke, like you said, McDonald's All-American, Nick Hemenia, major impact player. Joe Sterling, the new addition for the Wolverines, they're rolling.
Yeah, he's that transfer from Crespi that can really shoot the ball. Notre Dame in a very hard-fought game, 71-68. Now, their very fine guard at Notre Dame and Sherman Oaks, Lino Mark, has been injured. He had a bad hamstring, came off the bench to spark the team last night.
Yeah, so this makes Notre Dame a lot scarier. Everyone knows they have #1 junior in the country, Tyron Stokes, so they're very good. Navarro Bowman is this standout sophomore guard that's been playing fantastic. But they bring in Lino Mark, who has been injured with a hamstring injury. He's going to Rutgers, and he's been out of the lineup, and Notre Dame's been just fine. So him coming back into the lineup during the playoffs makes them even more dangerous. They are going to be a team to watch. Maybe, just maybe, they sneak into the open final, but they're going to have to take down Harvard Westlake to do it.
That won't be easy, but he did come off the bench and scored 11 points in the process. Another team that's got to be considered a favorite is Roosevelt Eastville. They're in the other bracket. They're the #2 seed. They're in Pool B over Heritage Christian. Their guy, Braden Burries, 24 points. Double figures and rebounds as well. Big-time performer.
Yeah, major performer. Braden Burries, McDonald's All-American. We don't know where he's going yet, but he can pretty much go wherever he wants. And Heritage Christian, a little bit of a welcome to the open division for the Warriors, but they've got 2 Division I standouts in Tay Simmons and Dylan Shaw. They'll be just fine.
And again, this isn't do or die. You can
Correct.
lose a game and still rally back and win in the pool play. And the last game that was played last night was the best game. Sierra Canyon in overtime, beating Redondo Union 69-66. Bryce Cofield had a nice game, 19 points and 10 rebounds for the winning Trailblazers.
Yeah, Redondo Union actually had a 12-0 run in the 4th quarter to force overtime. Reggie Morris, one of the greater coaches in Southern California, always has a plan, always has his teams ready. Hudson Mays going to Central Michigan. And S.J. Madison, another standout guard. And they actually have Harold Miner's son, Braden Miner, on the team. So this is a very talented, versatile team, and they almost get one in Chatsworth against Sierra Canyon, but the Trailblazers prevail.
Yeah, Miner, like his dad, has an unbelievable vertical leap. Of course, his dad twice won the slam dunk contest in the NBA. All right, let's turn our attention to some open games that'll be played tomorrow night. And we got some beauties here. Jay Serra at Santa Margarita. Now, this to me figures to be a great game. The point guard, Bailey, of Santa Margarita, Caden Bailey, can do it all.
Can we give a shout out to our producer, Larry Zavala, for these graphics?
Look
are
at these
fantastic. This to me is, so on Wednesday, I always point out 5 matchups or storylines every round. On Wednesday, the toss-up of the night was Redondo Sierra Canyon. I kind of nailed it. Overtime game. My toss-up of the night for Friday night is this J. Sarah Santa Margarita game. They're Trinity League rivals. Santa Margarita has already beaten J. Sarah twice this year, but you know the cliche. It's hard to continue to beat a team. So J. Sarah is probably feeling a little jaded. They had Notre Dame on the ropes and only lost by 3. That's going to be a great game on Friday night.
I think Santa Margarita is dangerous and has a chance to win the whole thing.
We'll
see. All right, there's La Mirada. Got another opportunity here. They go to Notre Dame in Sherman Oaks. 23-6, 24-5. Of course, Notre Dame coming off that tough win. They got to come back tomorrow night and try to do it again.
Yeah, they'll host this game. So La Mirada, these are tough. They had to travel from La Mirada to Studio City. Not an easy trek. Now it's La Mirada to Notre Dame. So they got to get on the road again, go in a hostile environment. It's going to be a tough game for La Mirada. I think Notre Dame will be just fine.
And if they do come through that, Notre Dame, obviously they'd move to 2-0, and that would start to tilt it
shape
toward
some
them.
things.
Yeah.
Yep.
They do a good job over at Notre Dame and Sherman Oaks. No question about that. They are a dangerous team, and they've been great for a number of years now. Let's turn our attention to the girls, and we'll talk about 4 of the teams that we think that are just outstanding. And let's start with Ontario Christian, arguably the #1 team in the country, led by the great Kalina Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Kalina Smith is probably she's the best junior in the country. And she is just she might be actually she's a sophomore. And you watch her, you think she's a junior or a senior, but she's so talented from range. I mean, Randy, that's the best thing about her. She shoots the 3 ball like nobody else, and they are the #1 team in the country. This team is really, really good.
Yeah, Sydney Douglas is another player on that team that's 6'7". So they have inside, they have outside. They're really, really good. The other club is Etiwanda. Etiwanda's got a terrific team as well. As you saw there, Sage Hill will be the first opponent for Ontario Christian. Etiwanda and Fairmont Prep. Now, Etiwanda has won the championship the last couple of years in the state. They have 2 high school All-Americans. The veteran Grace Knox is terrific. Puff Morris is good as well. That's a nice matchup. But Etiwanda, you know the coach.
Oh,
you love him.
He's on the loose. His name is Stan DeLoose. Yeah, listen, I was at the Hoop Hall Classic on the East Coast. I saw Ontario Christian play and Etiwanda. I think that those are the 2 teams that are going to clash. We've been saying it for years. For years it was Etiwanda's going to see Sierra Canyon, Etiwanda, Sierra Canyon, Etiwanda, Sierra Canyon, and it's always happened. So here I am saying it's going to be Etiwanda, Ontario Christian, and these are the 2 best teams in the land, but they got to earn it through pool play in the Open Division, and I think they will.
Mater Dei is terrific as well. I think Mater Dei's been as good as anyone in Southern California the last few years. They just run into buzzsaws. They've been terrific. You see they got to play a talented Windward team. They have a wonderful player in Deal.
Addison Deal.
Addison Deal scores big time every night. But Mater Dei's a threat in this tournament. They're seeded 3.
Yeah, they are. And, remember, this is the first time in a long time they're without Coach Kevin Kiernan, who had been there a long time. And they do have some injuries, so they're a little bit of a wounded animal, I hate to say it, heading into the Open. However, when you've got star power, Addison Deal is a McDonald's All-American that can help this Mater Dei Monarchs team maybe pull off, some magic in the postseason. Deal, you know where she's going to school? Iowa. She's going to be the next Caitlin Clark. You nailed it.
Everybody wants
and she's
to be
got
the
the skill
next
set to
Caitlin
do
Clark.
it. She's wiry, she's crafty, and she shoots the 3 really well.
Well, if we're going to talk college basketball, we've got to mention, we think, because we came on the air, SC was just about to polish off #1 ranked UCLA in women's basketball, led by Juju Watkins, who went to Sierra Canyon. We're going to talk about Sierra Canyon.
It is final. 71-60, and Juju had 38 points.
Wow. Blocked shots, got rebounds, did it all. That's the first loss for UCLA this year. Juju Watkins, formerly of Sierra Canyon, gets the victory for USC. All right, back to Sierra Canyon. This year, they're in the tournament. They're a definite threat. You love Jersey Robinson.
I do. I think she's a really good player. She's the #1 junior in the country, and she's just really a physical specimen. She's probably about 5'10", and physical. I mean, I literally every sense of the word, both athletically, in her physique, and how strong she is going to the basket. Her jump shot's polished. She's terrific. Here's the question for Sierra Canyon. Do they have the horses? Do they have enough depth, enough impact players? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Well, you could have said the same thing when Juju was there. I know she was surrounded probably by better players, but Juju was the star. Can Jersey take them all away like Juju did?
Juju's teams had better. I mean, remember
They
had
better.
some better. She had a better supporting cast than Jersey has on this team. That's just the truth. I think Alicia Kamaki would agree.
I agree.
So it's gonna be an uphill climb for Sierra Canyon. They'll be right there in the thick of things. But I'm telling you, it's Ontario Christian and Etiwanda. Those are the two teams.
Let's talk a little city section basketball on the boys' side. And it's got to be Chatsworth. They're going to be the top-ranked team. They're great out of the West Valley. And they have a guy by the name of Arenas who just this week outscored Silmar by himself. He beat him 63-53. He's brilliant.
Yeah, this is a player that I've been able to watch the last 3 years. Remember, he's only supposed to be a junior. He's reclassified and since committed to USC. He's going to play for Eric Musselman here at the Galen Center next year. And really tremendous player, 6'6", wiry, can really score the ball. Clearly, 63 points isn't easy. And let's not forget, last year in the state final, scored 44 points, which was a record. Last person to score that many points in a state final, Tracy Murray, and I think it was like in 1989. So this is a very, very tremendous, talented, five-star player.
Elijah Arenas, of course, his dad, Gilbert. What about the supporting cast? We just mentioned that about Sierra Canyon's girls. What about the supporting cast for Arenas?
Yeah, this Chatsworth team probably deserves a little bit more praise because it is more well-rounded than it gets credit for. Sam Harris, the coach, has them playing better defense, and they do have some nice pieces that complement Arenas, and I think make them the front runner to win the Open City title.
Yeah, and then we'll find out what the brackets are in the city section over the weekend. By the way, tomorrow night, Birmingham is the challenge for that fine team from Chatsworth High School. I like Westchester. They won the Western League this year. Ariza's a terrific player, Taj Ariza. But again, the favorite will be Chatsworth. And there's another team that is very strong. That's Palisades. They're in that same Western division, that Western League. They've had a tough year, as we all know. And our Tarek Fatal has more about what happened at Palisades High School.
Tarek Fatal here. Friday afternoon, literally at 10 afternoon, I am on the campus of Palisades High School here in Pacific Palisades. As you can tell, standing on green grass, a lot of buildings still up. In fact, there is a lot of carnage on this campus. But from where I'm standing, football field intact, basketball gym, baseball field completely intact. Now, there is some carnage on the other side of the campus, and I'll show that to you, but I want to encourage everybody that today is a good day in regard to knowing this school can absolutely recover. I felt it meaningless to go cover a basketball game or even do anything sport-related when there were people wondering if a long-time standing high school was even still here. So got by 2 security checkpoints, showed my credential, was able to get by, totally pleasant, totally nice. Told them, hey, I want to make sure this high school is okay. And you know what? I would like to say after being around the whole campus now, things are going to be okay for Palisades High School. Just wanted to show you that a lot of Palisades High School is okay, and this community will rebuild. A lot of encouraging signs today I felt I saw, being literally the only one on campus today. Be sure to visit si.com/high school for more exclusive coverage of Palisades Charter after the Palisades fire.
Great report from Tarek. We know how it affected the families. It was devastating. It was heartbreaking. But Tarek, how did it affect you going out there?
Yeah, I think to me there were so many, I don't want to slam anybody. There was so much mayhem ensuing because of the fires. People thought that Palisades had burnt down. I mean, there was really that notion out there. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab my credential and I'm going to give it a shot. And I got past the National Guard. I got past the police and LA County Sheriff with my credential. And I was just honest. I said, hey, I want to go check out the school. And when I got there, I was very encouraged by what was still there. Certainly some damage, but nothing that the school couldn't come back from. So for me, I felt like it was a good day for small local journalism to get out there and show people this school is just fine.
That's great to hear, and it's great to hear, too, that the Palisades boys basketball team is a contender.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling in talking to some of the coaches on campus, not that they've overcome it mentally, because it's never going to be easy to do that, but they've gotten by to a certain degree because the love for their teams and the kids are embracing the fact that they're back in playing sports. So that's
well said.
Awesome. That's absolutely awesome. All right, speaking of awesome, there's some players from this area, Southern California, that have gone and they're going to be part of the McDonald's All-American basketball. 6 teams, 6 players on the teams, both boys and girls, 3 and 3, are going to play in the McDonald's All-American game. One of them is Elijah Arenas. It's a great list.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, Elijah Arenas from Chatsworth. The last city section player to go to the McDonald's All-American game, if I'm not mistaken, was Renardo Sidney back in 2009. So Elijah Arenas is a talented player, and, you know, now again going to USC. Here he is. It's a little action here at the state final. Can score with ease, so certainly deserving of being a McDonald's All-American.
Braden Burries is going to go. He's the young man from Roosevelt, Eastville. Big-time scorer. We mentioned he had 24 in their win just last night.
Yeah, this is a player, you know, that is just extremely explosive, a 5-star athlete, plays with an edge. Look at him, you know, kind of always plays like he's angry, but a super nice, actually soft-spoken kid, but turns into really a different animal when he's on the court. This is a young man that can go anywhere he wants, Randy. You name it, he can go there. He's got an offer.
We mentioned Nick Jimena earlier in the show because he had 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in their victory. Jimena going to Duke. Jimena, to me, is one of the great shooters in America.
Yeah, you know, this is a really, really talented player and really like the epitome of a basketball player. Not very many high schools can catch this ball and do a turnaround jumper like that baseline. That is a harder shot than it looks, and he's going to Duke for a reason. So really, really have been watching his development. The last 4 years, David Rabibo, even when he was a freshman, said Nick Jimena could be the best player he's ever coached, and I think he's going to be.
He's going to be the guy that's going to probably have to replace Cooper Flagg, who's going to be
I don't know about that, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? He's going to be one and done, so he's
yeah.
going to be slotted up front
Sure.
to play for the Blue Devils. All right, the girls, and we mentioned some of these ladies earlier, that these 3 made the McDonald's All-American, starting with Addison Deal of Mater Dei.
Yeah, so again, Addison Deal, really spectacular player. Again, going to Iowa. So I think that Caitlin Clark might have had something to do with that decision. I've never spoken to Addison about that, but I'd imagine that there was some influence there. Really talented player.
And from Etiwanda, Grace Knox and also Puff Morris.
Yeah, Eliana Morris, who's going to Cal. So Grace Knox going to LSU, Morris going to Cal. 2 standout McDonald's All-Americans on one team. That's what makes Etiwanda such a threat.
Before we finish up basketball, we want to see what was the best performance of the year. And was it Mesrobian High School beating Waverly by who knows how many points? They were up 79-0.
It was 119-25, I think, was the final.
But the story was Kachekian, Dylan Kachekian. This is the performance. 102 points, a state record in California.
So
102.
Yeah, it was Nick Kachekian who scored the 102, but your boy was Dylan Kachekian.
He had the assists.
He had the 35 assists and all kinds of steals. So you had 2 twin brothers that basically broke. So the scoring record, he broke the California scoring record. Nick did 102 points. Dylan tied the national record for assists in a game and didn't attempt a shot in the game. So, yes, you could argue a lot of things here in this game, but yes, the truth of the matter is, let's just start with the facts. 102 points is the record, breaking 100, I believe, either 100 or 101, but he's the new record holder for California.
To me, he had 79 at halftime.
Yep.
It was 79-0 at halftime.
Yep.
I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah, and listen, I talked to the coach after the game that night and stuff like that. They knew what they were getting into. They had played Waverly earlier in the year and knew that this team wasn't very good. So this was planned.
So is this. Little point counterpoint tonight. Was the victory by Mesrobian unsportsmanlike against Waverly? Your thoughts?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say
dramatic pause.
I'm going to say no, not unsportsmanlike. And before you throw something at the TV, It was obvious this was a plan. And everyone out there, when you're scoring 80, 90, 100 points in a game, unfortunately, this is what they look like. They're not competitive back and forth games, and a player scored 100 points. That's not how it works. These games generally happen in lopsided affairs. So this was planned. So Kachikian and his teammates were in cahoots to get him this record. Here's why it's not unsportsmanlike. The second he got the record, which happened with like 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, they yanked him for the rest of the game. Unsportsmanlike would have been keeping him in that game and letting him go to 140 or 150. There was none of that. They got the record. They took him out.
No. Unsportsmanlike. 79-0 at half. Just let that sink in. You score all the points. You have 79. Nick, do you need more points? Coach, do you need to bury him even further? Dylan, how many assists do you need to break records? And what about the other side? How do you make those guys at Waverly feel? The game was over. You don't bury a team like that. If you're in the NBA and you're up 30 or 35 points, the regulars are out of the game. There was no reason for those kids to be on the floor. Not after 79-0 at halftime. You could have pulled them after the first quarter. That's my point on point, counterpoint. You like it or not?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be doing that every week now. We're going to go back and forth, have a little bit of fun. All right, let's go to our next topic. I've lost my place here. Let's talk about one of your friends, though. Shane Rosenthal.
Sure.
Great wide receiver. A little football news. Out at Newberry Park, they had a magnificent year. They won a CIF championship. They did great in the state tournament. Wonderful wide receiver, most catches in the history of California. We had him going to an Ivy League school. We talked about it all season long. We look up, and suddenly he's going to UCLA.
Yeah, and deservedly so. I think Shane Rosenthal, who has all kinds of records in the I think he's top 10 in all-time football accomplishments, I think in 4 different categories. I believe it's yards, receptions, touchdowns, and interceptions. He's top 10 all time. So you're talking about one of the best high school football players ever in the state of California. And I think there were so many people that thought he needed more recruitment, he needed more. And so finally UCLA comes in, and I will say this, as much as he deserves the scholarship, if we're being honest with ourselves, the Bruins are also trying to get his boy, Brady Smigel.
That was my lead to you. I was coming to that.
Yeah, there is no question when you're talking about a tandem that is arguably one of the best, and you've been around. When you're talking about guys that hooked up for touchdowns and receiving yards, Smigel and Rosenthal are up there with a couple other guys, pairs. My point being, Rosenthal you bring in and you have him play at the Rose Bowl. Why not make a ploy for Smigel now?
Smigel had committed to Florida State. Oh, by the way, he decommitted. He's checked out Washington and a few other schools. He's going to visit UCLA. But I got to say, I interviewed Rosenthal a few weeks ago, and he said, and this is before he had decommitted and Smigel had decommitted, and he said, someday I believe I'll be playing with Brady Smigel
in
again.
College. Yeah.
He didn't say college again.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Could have been the pros.
Yeah, it could be
and
pros.
I said, wait a minute, you're going here, he's going there. Smigel's going to UCLA.
Yeah. I love it.
UCLA.
I love it. Yeah, there's too much writing on the wall, and it makes a lot of sense. And even if UCLA doesn't get him, I like that Rosenthal not only, again, earned it, deserves it, but why not bring him in as a little bit of a little cookie to dangle in front of Smigel? Hey, let's keep playing with your buddy. I think it's awesome.
Rosenthal's going to play in the NFL. I make that prediction right now. He runs too precise patterns.
He ends up being a pro, would not surprise me.
Yeah, he's got great work ethic. He's going to be a guy. All right, coaches all over the board, a lot of changes. One of my favorite guys, Ben McEnroe, was out of Thousand Oaks, now at Heritage Christian, and I know there are others.
Yeah, that was a big splash. I think in regard to CIF Southern section, I was actually talking with some other people, and they thought, though Heritage Christian isn't known for its football ever, Ben McEnroe, who was at Cal Lutheran University for a long time and won I think 3 or 4 conference championships. That he was at Chaminade actually for a little bit. Then he goes to CLU for a bunch. Then he's at Thousand Oaks, and in his 2 years at Thousand Oaks, wins a ton of games and gets to 2 semifinal appearances. Okay, the dust is settled. It's February. Bam, he goes to Heritage Christian. Huge splash in regard to at least San Fernando Valley high school football ranks, because it tells you that that program's they're trying to take it seriously.
And there's other coaches that have been anointed.
Sure. So fair point. So Damian Porter, who was the old Crespi coach, is now at Harvard Westlake. And Aaron Horta, who was at Harvard Westlake, is now the new Alemany coach. So those are some notable changes in the football landscape.
And I'm sure there's always going to be more coaching changes. It's not just in the NFL. Modern Day gets transfers in football. That's not a shock. They've won the national championship for the last couple years. They get 4 really good players that I know of. Malachi Roby from Centennial running back. Justin Lewis from T.O., played for Ben McEnroe, now at a Modern Day. Mike Davis, a linebacker from Aquinas. Don't know much about him. I know he's a good player. And the big one, Ryan Hopkins, the quarterback in the league at J. Sarah, transfers to Modern Day.
Yeah, to me, Hopkins was, remember, he was kind of like a breakout player of the year type candidate, because he really came out of nowhere. J. Sarah had a kid named Michael Tollefson that played quarterback for them, and he transferred. So Ryan Hopkins gets thrown in to be the starting quarterback, and Jay Sarah had a great year. Dual threat kid, kind of like a Johnny Manziel type game. Really a fast twitch athlete with a nice arm. So it'll be different. So they had Dash Byerly this year, who was a little bit more drop back, kind of a pocket passer, but showed he had a...
No, he could run. He had wheels.
He could run.
Yeah.
I think Hopkins running is part of his game. It's like Byerly could run, Hopkins runs. It's part of his DNA. So it'll be a little bit interesting to see that kind of offense this year.
Did you say run? That's a great transition to our next story. We're getting near the end of the show. Sadie Engelhardt.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of running, fastest miler in the history of high school now. She set this at the Milrose Games recently out of Ventura High School. We've had her on this program before. This young lady appears to be down the road to be a future Olympian, maybe in LA.
Oh, no, certainly.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, she's one of the... I'll tell you what, when people ask, even our good friend at LA Times, Eric Sonheimer, or someone like myself, or even Joe Curley, who's been covering Ventura County athletes for 20 years, 25 years, hey man, who are some of the best athletes you've ever covered? You're going to probably say Sadie Engelhardt, because she's been so stellar every step of the way. She breaks records, she wins state championships, and then on top of it, she's just such a nice young lady and so fun to interview. So all the best to her. Not only a great human being and athlete, but absolutely future is bright, and I do think she will be an Olympian one day, Randy.
Yeah, 4:27, I think 97. My eyes are going on me. It's a little blurry there, but I think that was the number. She was the first one ever to get under 4 minutes, 28 seconds in the mile. Unbelievable accomplishment, and to do it at the Milrose Games in New York is great. Also great, San Pedro's girls soccer team. Tarek, they won the Marine League Championship this year for the 20th consecutive year.
That's remarkable. I don't care what level. It could be freshman, JV. It could be any sport. When you're winning at that level for that long, that needs to be, what's the word? It needs to be spoken about. It needs to be highlighted.
Honored.
And so honored is the right word. And I believe that is something that I'm glad you mentioned, because that is quite a feat. 20 in a row?
20 in a row.
That's fantastic.
Leilani Padilla is the star this year, 46 goals. She's sitting, and their season isn't over yet, 99 goals in her career.
Oh, wow.
So you got to feel like one more is going to be that wonderful moment for her.
And especially when you're accomplishing a milestone like 20 league championships in a row, and then on top of it, to really whip cream on top of that, to get the 100th goal would be sweet.
On LA 36 tomorrow, right here, 7 to 9 is the block. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. We're going to have the Gridiron Classic All-Star High School football game. But first at 7 is the girls' flag football game. So you're going to see the best stars in the city section on the girls' side and the boys' side, 7 to 9. And I think we're going to run it in that time block all the way through the weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, 7 to 9, and of course tomorrow night as well.
Any particular athletes you're looking forward to seeing in those games?
Well, they're all there. What I like about the Gridiron Classic and what Chuck Price has done is he's been able to get the best players to come and play. So all the top guys from all the top schools and the young ladies, they're all there. It'll be fun to watch. Tarek, our time is out.
Can I predict the MVP of the football game?
Which one?
The boys game.
Okay.
Jameer Torres from King Drew.
Did you watch the game? Jameer Torres was great. I don't even remember. I don't even remember who the MVP was, but he was great.
Okay.
For Tarek, I'm Randy. We'll see you next Thursday, right here on SoCal Prep Report. I think you nailed it. I think he might have been the MVP.
But I think he had a pick six.